WhatsApp group to get daily latest updates. It's totally free.
The test is in 4 parts: Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, and Part 4. Now look at Part 1.
Part 1.
You will hear a woman telephoning the police to report a theft. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 4.
Good morning, Wessex Police Department.
Hi, I need to report a theft.
You've had something stolen?
Yes, I have. Have I got the right number?
Yes, let me just get a form for theft. Right, this is it. Let me take a few personal details first. Can you tell me your first name?
Yes, of course. It's Sabrina.
And what's your surname, please?
MacArthur?
M-C-A...
No, it's MacArthur.
Oh, right. And can I have a contact phone number?
Yes, it's 07188 233 764.
OK, got that. Now, what is it that's been stolen?
Well, I think the thief thought it was my purse, but in fact it was my reading glasses. They were in a soft case on the top of my rucksack. I didn't realise they were missing until I got to college and started doing some coursework.
I see. That must be inconvenient. Can you tell me how much they were worth?
Well, I had them specially made about 9 months ago, and I paid £215 for them.
And are there any special features that would make them easy to identify?
No, not really. They're quite expensive, but they look quite ordinary. My previous ones were a bit special. They were silver and had a blue flash. But these were just brown. Quite plain, really.
OK, I'll make a note of that.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 5 to 10. Now listen carefully and answer questions 5 to 10.
Right, let me take some details of the theft. Can you tell me when it happened?
Well, it was this morning.
OK, so that's today's date, which is the 13th... No, just a minute, that's yesterday. The 14th of February. And what time?
It must have been around 8:30 a.m.
And where did it happen?
Well, I only discovered them missing when I got to college. But I do remember someone bumping into my rucksack when I was at the station. I was waiting for a train and the platform was very crowded. It was the rush hour, you see, and there were a lot of people standing behind me, and I was aware of my rucksack being touched. So it must have been then.
OK. Did you see the person who was touching your rucksack?
No, I'm afraid I didn't. The train was late and I was starting to worry about missing my first lecture.
I see. So, were there any witnesses? Do you think anyone saw the thief?
Yes, my brother was standing behind me and he noticed someone near my rucksack. He didn't realise at the time that anything had been taken, so he didn't mention it to me. But when I realised something had been stolen, I told him about it and he remembered seeing this person.
I see. And so were you able to get a description of the person?
Well, apparently the guy was quite tall.
OK, good. Anything else? Any idea of age or build? What about hair? Was it long or short?
Don't know about the length, but I was told it was black. I think that's about all I know, I'm afraid.
That's OK. There have been a number of reported thefts recently in that particular area, so we're trying to get a picture of whether a number of thieves are involved, or if it's just one or two. So any details, no matter how small, will help us. Has this kind of thing happened to you there before?
No, it hasn't, but a friend of mine had something stolen a couple of weeks ago.
And what happened then?
Well, someone bumped into him. He didn't realise why at the time, but later he discovered that his wallet had been stolen.
OK. And did he report it?
Oh, yes.
Good. Right. So, just one last question. Are you insured?
Well, I wasn't going to bother with insurance, but we were given a talk about the importance of it when we started college. So fortunately, I arranged some quite recently.
Well, that was lucky. What kind of policy do you have? Are you sure it'll cover your theft?
Yes, it should do. It's called student property and it covers theft at home, when I'm travelling, and also at college.
OK, that should be fine then. So, we'll get in touch if we have any news.
Right, thanks. Goodbye.
That is the end of part 1.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 2.
Part 2.
You will hear a talk by a college principal welcoming students to Fairlight College. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 15. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 15.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Katie Goddard, and I'm the principal of Fairlight College. First of all, I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome all of you at the start of your studies here at Fairlight. We're a medium-sized college with approximately 2,500 students, 60% of which are full-time. We also have a teaching staff of highly trained professionals totalling 127. The college buildings are about 50 years old, and they were not initially used as a college. You may be surprised to hear that this site was originally a holiday village for about 40 years, and when that closed down, the buildings were adapted to create the state-of-the-art college that we have today. Of course, we do hope you have fun here, but we also expect hard work from you all. Most organisations, and indeed many colleges, have mission statements which set out their key objective. These are sometimes quite lengthy and complicated, but we believe in keeping things simple here. Ours is Aim High, and I'd like you all to keep that in mind throughout your studies. Our main purpose, of course, is to provide you with an education, but we also take seriously the need to prepare you for life and, in particular, for whatever you plan to do when you've finished your studies. Over the past 10 years, the college has worked hard to establish links with local industry in order to provide you with opportunities for work experience, both during your studies and afterwards. I strongly recommend that you take advantage of these opportunities. And finally, you may have already heard about the Freshers' Ball for first-year students, but I'd just like to remind you that this is an ideal opportunity to relax and get to know each other. The date is October the 5th. In the past, we've held the ball on the college campus, but this year we decided to hold it in town at the Sunset Club. It's near the centre of town and is about 3 miles from the college. So, make sure you put that in your diaries.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 16 to 20. Now listen carefully and answer questions 16 to 20.
I'd now like to point out a few important college facilities. I hope you all managed to pick up a map of the college campus on your way in. I'm not going to go over everything on the map, but I'd like to point out a few things that you should be aware of. So, first of all, I imagine most of you will have noticed the car park and the registration and admin building when you arrived today, and which are at the bottom of your map. It's easy to find the sports centre as it's located conveniently by the playing fields at the bottom right on the map. The layout of the campus is very straightforward, and there's basically a path that leads up through the centre with facilities on either side. I'm sure you're all keen to get hold of your course books, and I guess one of the most important places is the library. This is situated on the left of the main path, just after the cafe. I'd now like to draw your attention to a new addition to the campus, and one which we're all very excited about. This is the Innovation Centre, and is where we're hoping that all your creative ideas will produce some great new inventions. To get there, if you follow the central path past the orchard and then the arts building on your left, you cross the river and it's the new building on the right. The building on the left is the medical centre, and if any of you have any medical conditions that we should be aware of, please call in here and register with the nurse. OK, so I'd just like to point out the other two faculty buildings. To the right of the orchard and on the other side of the main path is the science block, and the river runs behind this building. And next to this, and further along the river, is the humanities building. So, I think we've covered all the faculty buildings. Now, finally, you will notice the 4 buildings in the square in front of registration and admin. The 2 on the left I mentioned previously, and on the other side of the path, the one nearest registration and admin, is the college shop, and the other is the canteen, which is open from 7:30 in the morning until 8 p.m. in the evening. Well, I hope that helps to orientate you. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask me or any of the other members of staff, and I'm sure in no time at all, this will all become very familiar.
That is the end of part 2.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 3. Part 3.
You will hear a student called Metin talking to his tutor about an engineering assignment. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 25. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 25.
Come in, Metin. How are you?
Fine, thanks. I wondered if I could just have a word with you about my engineering assignment.
Yes, I've got a class in half an hour, but I can give you about 10 minutes. I do need the other 20 minutes to get myself sorted out before I teach, though.
That's fine. I just wanted to discuss some ideas with you.
Okay. So, what aspect of building are you doing your assignment on?
Well, I decided in the end to choose bridge construction. I had several ideas at the start, but I didn't want to focus on anything too modern. I wanted to opt for something that's been around for a long time.
Yes, I guess people have always built bridges.
Whereas skyscrapers, for example, are great, but they're relatively recent constructions.
Okay, well, that's a good reason. What aspect of bridge construction are you going to cover?
Well, there are some amazing bridges in different places and countries, so I thought I would start with some pictures, just a page or so of bridges around the world, and then go on to write about them.
That would involve quite a range of designs. It might be better to narrow your theme down a bit. Might make it easier for you to structure your work.
Yes, I'm not very good at making choices.
You know, like a lot of students, you're trying to cover too much.
Right, I see.
Plus, you need to think about what you're being assessed on. Did I give you the outline for this?
Yes, but I don't think I have it here.
Well, last year's students will tell you that you won't do well if you only present an overview of something. It's not enough, no matter how many words you write.
I see. You mean we have to show that we can go into something in detail?
Exactly. Perhaps it would be a good idea to have a rethink when you get home. Do you have plenty of books and articles?
Yes, I've got them at my flat. My flatmate said I didn't need to bring them.
Well, it would have been helpful if you'd brought them along. Anyway, review all the literature you have first, and that will help you develop your ideas.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 26 to 30.